I got a simple question, y'all. I got a simple question. Why is people still hating on OJ? That's a simple question, y'all. Ain't nothing to it. I'm not trying to imply nothing other than what I'm saying. I mean what I'm saying. I'm meaning what I'm saying. Saying what I mean. Why is people still hating on OJ? That man was, he was this star football player on the Wheaties box, doing his thing, and married into a Caucasian family. He was friends with the attorney that represented him. He was friends with the Bruce Jenner, who is now Caitlyn Jenner. And all of a sudden, 1994 happened, and unfortunately, two people lost their lives. And, it was supposed to be OJ's wife and her friend, Mark. And so they lost their lives. Everybody looked to OJ from the other side of the aisle. They looked at OJ as being the suspect who unalived his wife and her male friend. Now, 1994, I remember this like yesterday. 1994, OJ, he was, I remember turning on the news, 1994. OJ was in a white Bronco. That's where the term, when people say I'm about to give me an OJ Bronco or OJ, the white Bronco. And he was being chased by the police because naturally anybody knows that when something like that happens to the wife, they always go to the husband first. They assume that the husband was involved because they always tend to say that there was something fishy. It's a word that they use in law, and I can't think of it right now, but it equates to there's something fishy about this. And so they look at the husband. And this right here, looking at the husband cross racial boundaries, they don't care if you so-called black, so-called white, Asian, it don't matter. The husband always becomes the first point of contact because he is the husband of the victim. So naturally, they look to OJ. They're like, man, what happened? What's up? And OJ stood his ground. I ain't had nothing to do with that. I don't know nothing about that, right? Like that. People didn't like that. As if OJ was supposed to come out and say, yeah, I did X, Y, and Z. Nobody could understand or accept that maybe he didn't do it. Maybe he had nothing to do with it. Maybe. I mean, it's endless possibilities, and we always have to give people the benefit of the doubt. But of course, that's America. There is no real benefit of the doubt. If they say that you're guilty or you did it, in America, that automatically means guilt. Unfortunately, especially when you don't share the same skin tone as those who are running the system that's out to arrest you or take revenge on you, or however they issue their form of justice. So I asked this question because I'm just curious as to why so many people still hate OJ. The man was found, he was found not guilty of the crime for which he was arrested. He was found not guilty. 1994, he was found not guilty. Now, I'm not taking his side, so I don't want nobody on here to think that I'm taking his side. I just want to know what the thinking is around still hating OJ. Because after, what is this, 30 years? It's 30 years later. And you have people who are still possessed with this hatred toward OJ. I got a question. I just thought about something. I wonder, do people that hate OJ, somebody said, Libby said at the time of her unaliving, she had left OJ because he had beat her so bad. Okay, I'm not doubting that, and I remember the same story too. But that's not my question. My question is, why are people still hating on OJ? Whether the hatred is founded or not, I'm just asking a question. Because it has been people who have done things to me, and I held on to it, but I couldn't move forward with my life holding on to it, so I had to let it go. So I'm asking, why are people still hating on OJ 30 years after he was acquitted of the crime? OC say he only free because they didn't want another. Can we all guys get along? He was guilty. No hatred. Why did he run for hours? Well, let me just say this here. The first one is, he only free because they didn't want another something. Can we all guys all just get along? Yeah, we can all get along. That's what I'm talking about. Why are we holding on to the hatred? We can never get along as long as we hold on to the hatred. Now, my second point, he say he was guilty. No hatred. Why did he run for hours? Well, I ran from the police many times in my life, and I didn't do anything wrong. Didn't have anything illegal on me. Only thing that I had on me was my natural born guilt, my skin tone. And that there, for those who can relate, that there is enough for people like me to see the police and run. Especially when you're in an impoverished neighborhood, or if you're black in a white neighborhood. That's a reason. We come up with that. We grow up with that. Run when you see him. And don't get me wrong, I'm not defending him. Please don't think that I'm defending his actions, because I don't know why he ran. So my man 610 Big Stretch said, exactly. I never stopped for the white police. Listen, I'm not protecting him, PT. Believe me, I'm not. I put the question out there, why are people still hating on OJ? Because I don't hear nobody hating on none of the police that then killed young black men. I don't hear nobody hating on them. I don't hear nobody. There's no uproar about them. There's no uproar about when they go to trial and they get found not guilty, when clear as day we seen on TV what they did to somebody. There's no uproar. There's no holding on to hatred. The system worked in their case, right? That's what people say. The system worked in their case. He said, who hates or OJ? Just a random white guy accent. Have you not seen social media, big fella? Dwayne Robert? No, excuse me. Yeah, Dwayne Robert. Look at social media. It's so much hatred spewed against this man because something that he was accused of, charged with, but acquitted of 30 years ago. And people are holding on to that. I look at it like this, man. What's that? Poe _G, the hottest OG. I look at it like this, man. Again, I don't see nobody up in arms when the police unalive young black men and older black men and women for that matter. I don't see nobody up in arms or holding on to any dislike, let alone hatred toward those police. And I'm not saying that you should. I'm saying fair is fair. Let's be fair. Because see, if I were to see, I was just looking at some videos earlier today, and I happened to come across some stuff where the black guy punched the white guy. The white guy was defenseless, and he just kept punching him and punching him. I was like, that's a coward. I don't care your skin tone. A coward is a coward. Is a coward and a coward. If it was a white guy doing that to the black, it's a coward. Because I'm fair. I don't care what the man's nationality is, what his background is, where he came from, where he live at, where he plan on going in his life, where he work at, who he know, who his daddy and mama is. I don't care about none of that. Humanity is humanity. BF Chambliss say, how do you think Nicole and Ryan's family feel about him set free? I'm sure they didn't like it, but they have to live with that because this is the system that's in place. Whether you like the system or not, I hate the system. But sometimes the system get it right, and many times the systems get it wrong. We know that. Blue Bug said, we all celebrated yesterday. What did you celebrate, brother? Tell me, what did you celebrate? We won't even celebrate giving life to one another, but we'll celebrate the death of someone. We celebrate the death of someone with laughter, with disdain, bringing up old memories, carving up old hatred. Listen, somebody said OJ is and was innocent. Hey, and guess what? I didn't say that whether he did it or not. I said he's innocent because the court said he's innocent. Who am I to now overstep the bounds of the court and now say, no, he did that, you guilty? I can have my own opinion. I can have my own opinion. But we must acknowledge that the court said that OJ was not guilty. We have to acknowledge that, because if you don't acknowledge that, then this means that you don't trust the system. And if you don't trust the system, guess what? I'm a part of an organization called Michigan Liberation. We don't trust the system. And so what we're doing is we're trying to reform the system, reform the criminal justice system. We need you on our team if you don't trust the system. I don't care if you think he did it or didn't do it. I'm talking about if you don't trust the system. If you don't trust the system. I'm part of an organization called Michigan Liberation. Look us up. We're on all the social media sites. We got our website up, Michigan Liberation. We fight against criminal injustice. We fight for criminal justice reform. Now, again, somebody said, I met OJ in LA. It went too fast. And somebody said, whine some more, get a job. Brother, I got a great job. I don't whine because guess what? It's the people like you who's whining. That's why I'm trying to ask people like you, why are you still hating on this man 30 years later? I don't hear you hating on none of those police that unalived all of those young black men. You haven't put a comment in there about that yet. And you probably won't. You know why? Because you are a part of the system that's corrupt. And what we're trying to do is straighten the system out. So we need to weed out those who are corrupt so we can put a system in place that's actually fair. Because many of us have opinions about OJ. Many of us. But our opinion doesn't matter in the realm of the law and justice that was served in his case. You know, somebody just said Bruce Jenner unalived the person too. And that's crazy you said that, because after OJ's passing, Bruce Jenner, his statement was good riddance. End quote, good riddance. Who in the hell is Bruce Jenner to say good riddance when it was just a few years ago that he unalived somebody in a car accident and got away with it? See what I'm saying? Nobody is up in arms about that. Bruce Jenner, whom is now known as Caitlyn Jenner. Caitlyn Jenner. The father of the Kardashian people. Here it is. He talking about good riddance. He didn't say I'm sending condolences to the family, because OJ still had children, y'all. Still had grandchildren. Yeah, Sagittarius 1214 say they had the nerve to give Caitlyn Jenner the Woman of the Year. The Woman of the Year, huh? Is that disrespect toward the women? But here's a guy who OJ used to be one of his closest friends. And in OJ's passing, this man say good riddance. What does that mean? Wow. Somebody say Bruce doesn't even know who he or she is. Well, I agree with you. Nicole and Ron were someone's child too. I agree. That's why I'm not defending OJ. I said, why are people holding on to the hatred? There comes a time that we got to move on with our life. We can't keep holding on to the past. That happened 30 years ago. 30 years ago. The pain is still there. The pain will never go away. We know that. But I'm saying, why hold on to the hatred? Because the pain gonna be there. Like, I'm always gonna miss my mother. I'm always gonna miss my grandmother, my grandfather, my father, my brother, my son. I'm always gonna miss them. Every time I think of them, I can feel the pain that I felt when they passed. I mean, this is 40 some years later. The pain is always gonna be there. But the hatred don't have to be there. Because if I hold on to the hatred of the guy that unalived my brother, if I hold on to that hatred, it's not going to allow me to move on in my life. So again, why are so many people still hating on OJ? Julie said he was as guilty as they come. We can feel that way, but the court didn't say that. Sagittarius 1214. Sagittarius 1214. He making some good points. Facts are the prosecution were trash, and he fit off free. Okay, look. Man, y'all making some good comments, man. Making some good points. He got off free. The system does not always work. Case in point, I'm giving you a case in point. I served 28 years in the Michigan Department of Corrections. 28 years for unaliving somebody in the first degree. I didn't do it. Don't know who did it. Don't know why they did it. I was not at the club that night. The police know I didn't do it. But the judge found me guilty of doing it. The court didn't get it right. And many people that sat in the courtroom and heard the police lie and heard witnesses lie know that the court didn't get it right. But that's how the court goes. That's part of the process. Sometimes things just don't turn out the way that the people think it should turn out. Hillary Clinton won the popular vote. She didn't win the presidency, but the people was on her side. That's not how elections go. The Electoral College said Donald Trump won. So we have to accept that Donald Trump beat her, right? And she have to accept that although you won a popular vote, you didn't win the other vote, the vote that counts, right? We have to accept that. Some cases turn out bad, and people would argue that the judge didn't look at everything right, because that guy's guilty as they come, as Julie said. He is as guilty as they come. Yes. Guess what? All of us on this channel right here could have seen a crime take place and seen who did the crime and got up there and said what we said. But the jury is not convinced by our testimony, and so they find the man guilty. When he walks back into the streets, into his life, is he guilty of the crime or is he not guilty of the crime? No, he's not guilty, because the court said, despite what everyone else said and they said that they seen, he's not guilty of that crime. And the court said he's not guilty. Again, I'm not defending it. I'm one who's not defending it. I'm fair. I'm being fair. Melody say he did it. Okay. I'm not saying he didn't do it. I said the court said he didn't do it. I'm just being fair, because man don't forgive, only God forgive. If he didn't not, he is not standing. I see the OJ crime like the Emmett Till crime. Woo-wee. Do y'all know who Emmett Till is? Somebody say they see the OJ crime like the Emmett Till crime. Do y'all know who Emmett Till is? Now, when y'all get on here and y'all tell me about Emmett Till and tell me, do y'all possess hatred for that crime? Because there's so many Emmett Tills, but tell me, do y'all possess hatred for that crime or hatred for Mike Brown? Hatred for any of them police who unalived them black men. Right before our eyes on the news, put their knees in people's neck when the guy told him he can't breathe. And he looked up and smirked. Where the hatred at? I'm not advocating hatred. No, I'm not. Please don't think that I'm advocating hatred. I ask that y'all share out my live feed. Share out my live feed. I ask that y'all please like, comment, and share. Share out my live feed. They took one of the team. Listen. I'm just a fair guy that posed a fair question. And the question is, why are so many people still hating on OJ? This man was arrested, charged, and went to trial for a crime that took place in 1994 for the unaliving of Nicole and Ron Goldman. After undergoing a trial, he was found not guilty. The court said he's not guilty. The jury, that's 12 people, said he's not guilty. We just don't believe that he did this. This is the system that we entrusted to a judge whether someone has engaged in criminal activity or not. And this is the system that decided that OJ didn't commit the crime. We all know the real reason why they still hate him. What about the Central Park Five? Wow, do we got any hatred toward that system that locked up the Central Park Five for all of those years? That was televised too. I don't know. I guess, you know, we selective in our hatred. We know what it is. Some things that ain't meant to be spoken of. What's understood don't need to be explained. R.I.P. OJ, you will always be my childhood hero. See, to me, I look at it like this. Some people may disagree, but it's all right because your opinion matters to you. I look at it like this. Take, for example, R. Kelly. R. Kelly is locked up for several crimes with underage girls, right? Do that diminish the value of his music? You had Michael Jackson was accused. Did that diminish the value of his music? We still rock to their music, right? No matter what he did in his personal life, we still rock with their music. Like the guy said, OJ, you will always be my childhood hero. Mine too. I remember growing up to OJ. That doesn't take away that I didn't say Michael Jackson did anything. I said he was accused. Try to charge him with some stuff. But my point in even bringing Michael Jackson up is that to say that no matter what people thought of Michael Jackson personally, his music still lives on in many of us. No matter what they think about R. Kelly, his music still lives on in many of us. You can't take away from the fact that his music is classic. You can't take away from the fact that OJ, I'm talking about OJ, the football player, was many of our heroes. You can't take that away. I don't care what he ended up doing in his life later. We talking about, we grew up to this guy, OJ. Come on, y'all. So let's get that part right. So we could stop demonizing people and trying to throw a blanket effect, trying to take away people's accomplishments. We can't take away people's accomplishments, right? Because it already been accomplished. It already been accomplished. You know, it's kind of like, it do put me in the mind, in a weird way, it put me in the mind of yesterday I was at a fundraiser and I was talking to some people and telling them that today, this was yesterday, so I was like, tomorrow I speak at this particular school in Detroit. Well, one of the people at the table or in the group said, oh, those students are some of the worst of the worst. I said, well, that's exactly where I need to be at then. Because that's what they said about me, that I was one of the worst of the worst. Oh, no, my fault. Excuse me. They said I was the worst of the worst. And now guess who the system come to ask questions to for counsel? The worst of the worst. So we can always, in certain cases, honor people's past, right? We honor OJ past, we honor R. Kelly past, we honor all of this type of stuff, right? And we can acknowledge them for what we perceive to be as a wrongdoing. We can do that too. We can do both things because I did some things in my life. I did some things in my life that some people can hold on to and say, he's still a bad guy to me. He still tore up the neighborhood. He still did that and harmed people. He's still a drug dealer to me. He will always be a drug dealer. That's not how life works. That's not how life works. Just because you once were wearing a certain coat of whatever it was, character, criminal activity, social injustice activity, just because you were once wearing that coat doesn't mean that you're that person, right? So now we go back to an upbringing of a star football player. Everybody knew this guy. If you didn't know him, it's because you wasn't looking, you wasn't listening, or you wasn't in tune with reality, right? Because everybody knew OJ. Some people who never even watched football heard of OJ and honored OJ. So when Granddad would want to watch football, he'd say, that boy OJ is just the best thing ever got on the field. You as a child, male or female, all you remember is Granddad talking about OJ. You probably never even seen him, but you remember that name. And that name lived on in you. That's why when 1994 happened, everybody clicked like, not OJ. Some people never even seen OJ. But because we heard of so much good things and some of us seen so much on the field, so much good things and on cereal boxes, we say, not OJ. So now that Carolyn Rob 15 says she was happy that OJ was acquitted. Listen, I'm not going to lie to y'all. I was in prison at the time, 1994. We was watching the whole trial. Once he got found not guilty, do you know the prison almost went into a riot? Because everybody was happy. Why were we happy? Because some of us were the victims of the system, and some of us had spent so many years by that time in the system that we wanted to see somebody set free, the right or the wrong way. And so however it came, we was willing to accept it because so many of us were in bondage right then and there, enslaved right then and there by a corrupt system. So when you have people who are victims of a corrupt system like I was, and we see someone who made it through the cracks of this corrupt system to regain their freedom or maintain their freedom, hell yeah, we up in arms, throwing up big fists up in the air like, yeah, yeah. Don't get me wrong. That doesn't mean that some of us really thought that he didn't do it or really thought that he did do it. The fact that he was up against a mountain of odds and he made it through gave hope to so many of us, right? Understand, again, I'm not saying he did it or didn't do it. I'm saying when you have been a victim of a corrupt system, like I was a victim of a corrupt system, and so many of my brothers and sisters are victims of a corrupt system right now. And you are a victim of this system, and you see someone who is able to outmaneuver, outlast, manipulate, whatever they got to do to not become a victim of this system, we throw none but the fists up in the air for them. Because we know how it is to be the victims of a system. We know how it is. It said, well, none of us saw the crime. There was no cameras back then. And I agree 110%. So now we can't be doing nothing but going on our emotions. I think he did. I think, why you think they came and got him? Why you think this happened? Why you think he ran? Ask that young black boy. I'm going to give you a case in point. I know this young guy. This happened last September. I know this young guy, 16 years old, never committed a crime in his life. A good school kid, loved his little brothers and sisters and little cousins. Man, he just happened to be driving his auntie's car in the September 2023. And he didn't know that there was no insurance on the car. He was going, he liked to do odds and ends job because all he wanted to do is work and play with his little brothers and sisters. 16-year-old boy. He's real big, but he's just 16, very playful, little kid. I seen the video myself, so what I'm telling you, I actually seen with my own eyes. He was pulling out the gas station. The police was pulling in. So they thought that he was supposed to stop for them when they was just pulling in casually. So he kept going. They followed this little boy. They followed him. And he went in the turn lane, and then he went straight up the street after he got in the turning lane. They followed him. He had his blinker on, his left blinker light, but he never turned left. So the police continued following him until he picked up speed, and he ran one red light. And the second red light that he ran, I think it was the second or the third red light that he ran, he hit a car. And the car that he hit rolled over. He hit him very hard, rolled over. The woman in the car passed away. The husband was seriously injured and had to be helicoptered to the hospital. The baby survived. Minor injuries, but he survived. Listen, so when you're talking about a corrupt system, you're talking about whether somebody did it or not, whether there was cameras there or not, formulating an opinion, the system that's in place. They charged that juvenile as an adult with second-degree unaliving somebody. I disagreed wholeheartedly, advocated for him. My point is this here. The system is not meant to be fair on this side or that side. The system is just meant to be the system. It's like a filter that we go through. A filter that we go through once we have been accused of a crime. It's a filter that we go through to either freedom or prison. That's just how it goes. The court is a filter that we go through. Once we go through that door, which is the court, that's the filter, we get up in there through that door, we don't know what's on the other side. Because a lot of us who was onlookers said OJ going to jail. Once he get through this filter and go through that door, jail is on the other side of his door. And it wasn't. Freedom was on the other side of his door. I thought for sure when I went to court for the crime that I didn't commit, that freedom was on the other side of the door. When I went through the door to this filter and I'm in this filter, which is called the court, the filter is so filthy. It's like that thing that you got to pull out your dryer before you keep just drying clothes. You got to clean the filter out, or on your vacuum cleaner, you got to clean the filter out, clean that junk up out of there, that trash up out of there, or it's going to start kicking back on your rug, the dirt. So the court is that filter. And I thought for sure that once I make it through that filter, freedom was on the other side of the door. You know what they had on the other side of my door? They had the death sentence. I was sentenced to life without parole in prison. In Michigan, we don't have the death penalty in that term, but blah, blah, blah. King, get the hell off here then if you don't want to hear me. Simple. You on my channel. I'm not on yours. So they don't have the death penalty in Michigan. the chair, the needle and gun range. They don't have that. They have what is called life without parole. That means that you die in prison, never to see daylight on the outside of prison ever again. That's what I had. That's what was on the other side of my door once I made it through that filter of what is called the courtroom. So not everybody makes it through that filter to the door of freedom. Even some of the most guiltiest looking individuals end up making through the door of freedom. And even some of the most innocent of individuals end up in that door of prison. That's life. But I don't hear people in an uproar when they convict all of these innocent people. I don't hear people in that same uproar. There's no hatred toward the system then. No hatred. Where is it at? Where y'all at? Right, white people kill us in our family and kept freedom. One don't matter to me. Because this is funny. You people are all the same. What do you mean by you people? What is you implying? What's understood don't need to be explained. Willie Lynch. I like how you say guilty looking. I say guilty looking because when I went to court, I was a criminal, hands down. I take responsibility for the part that I played in drawing the police to me because of the actions that I was into. I looked guilty. I looked guilty because I was in the streets like that. Because 99.9% of you are guilty. Okay. Anywho, don't throw your wig at me, baby. So anywho, I looked guilty. And I got found guilty. Some people who are guilty don't look guilty. They don't look guilty. It's like they've been in acting class. They just don't look guilty, but they are guilty. And they make it through that filter through the door of freedom. And some of us be like, hold on, how in the hell he get out and I got found guilty? I ain't even do the crime. And now he in here in the same bullpen as me, bragging about what he did. That goes on every single day. RJ, how you doing? How you doing, brother? Need to put your purse up, brother. All right. Still yapping crazy how white people were the only ones who care enough about y'all. Wow. Oh, thank you, man. You are defending OJ. RJ, first of all, I opened up saying I'm not defending that guy. I don't know if he did it or not. Everybody have their opinion, and your opinion matters only to you. To be truthful, because my opinion doesn't matter to you. I understand that and accept that. And your opinion doesn't matter to me. But I respect your opinion. Because it's your opinion. We all have one. This is how we learn to respect one another and get along with one another, by respecting one another's differences. But I will never allow you to dictate what I think. And you should never allow me to dictate what you think. I may influence what you think. This is what social media influencers do. This is what fashionistas do. They wear certain clothes and they influence what we think. And so we want that same type of clothes. I want them shoes that Jeezy got on. Women say, I want that same outfit that Nicki Minaj had or at the award show. We can be influenced by people's opinions or ideas, but never allow nobody to dictate what you think. Because I will never allow anyone to dictate what I think about me, about you, or about anyone else. Someone can come and tell me that you are a bad person and you did you this way and that way, But if I never seen it, I'm never going to take what they say as 100% truth because I don't know the backstory. I don't know the backstory. My man Ray Lewis. So I don't get caught up in allowing society to dictate to me what should be or what should not be. Like how society try to tell us what's beautiful and what's not. Society literally tries to tell us what's beautiful and what's not. How in the hell is society going to tell me what's beautiful to me? How? Think about that. This is what the news agencies do. They plant seeds and then they keep cultivating that seed until that flower grows. That flower belongs to them. That seed was planted in your mind. They cultivated that seed. When that seed blooms, that's their product. Your mind no longer belongs to you. It belongs to those who cultivated it, right? Those who indoctrinated you to believe in something that you normally would not have believed in. But because you were dictated by someone else, like puppeteered by someone else, you thought and did whatever they wanted you to do. So again, my question was simple. I asked that y'all like, share, like, comment, and share. Share out my live feed. I'm only going to be here for a little bit because I don't want to take up everybody's time. Because I know I have stricken a nerve in a lot of people that I've seen make comments on here. And guess what? I apologize. I truly apologize if I rubbed anybody the wrong way. But just know I'm going to keep rubbing you that wrong way. If you don't like something I'm saying, you ain't got to be on here. It's just simple. I'm just being real. So I speak for the voiceless. I speak for those who have these thoughts but cannot articulate them. I speak for any and everyone who has been a victim of that system. I'm talking about the victims like Nicole and Ryan's family. I speak on their behalf because I understand the pain. I done went through the same thing. I done been on both sides. So I speak for the victims of defendants, and I speak for the victims of the system, right? OJ all day. God is its ultimate judge, period. I agree. Democrats can't handle truth. Democrats, huh? I respect speaking for the victims, just not real sure OJ was one of them. I never referred to OJ as one of the victims. I said Ron and Nicole are the victims in this case. OJ is the beneficiary of a corrupt system, whether he did it or not. Say, for example, OJ actually did it. I'm not saying he did or didn't. I didn't see it, so I'm not going to say that. But say, for instance, if I did see him do it and he got found not guilty, although the court followed all the procedures of the court, he is one of those fortunate ones that slid through the cracks of a corrupt system. Simple. Now, say, for instance, he didn't do it, but it looked like he did do it, but he didn't do it. And he still went through those same procedures. And that jury said, nope, not guilty. He's still the beneficiary of a corrupt system. The system is corrupt whether he got found guilty or not guilty. The system is corrupt. That's why organizations like my organization, we're trying to reform the system. Because the system allows certain things to take place without any oversight. I never trusted detectives who used to sleep with Nicole. Wow. See, that's what I'm talking about. That's the system. That's the system. It was them corrupt cops that framed him. See what I'm saying? That's the system. The system is corrupted by the same thing corrupting governments: money, power, respect. See? Juice no longer loose. Yep. So listen, the system is corrupt whether you are a beneficiary of their freedom or beneficiary in their prison. The system is corrupt. No one really knows what side, what door you're going to come out. The door that leads to prison or the door that leads to freedom. Big facts. Truth. He was acquitted after LAPD got away with abusing Rodney King. Thank goodness he is gone. Hope he is looking at us right now. When Democrats are in power, it's a corrupt government. The late Hugo Chavez of Venezuela. The whole system too, not just the justice system. You can use your son's gloves. See how we all have opinions, and we have to respect one another's opinions. You got the guy talking about the Democrats when the Republicans do the identical thing. They are twin brothers. The Republicans and the Democrats are twin brothers, like Cain and Abel. One is trying to take out the other. And then the other will rise from the ash and try to take out the other. Come on, man. This is just life. That's why I posed that question. Why are people still hating on OJ 30 years later? That happened in 1994. 1994, the OJ case happened when he was being chased up the highway in that white Bronco. He was being chased in a white Bronco. So after that, everybody started wanting a white Bronco. I'm just being real. I was in prison at the time. And again, I'm going to say this. Because I was in prison at the time when the situation happened. And I remember all of us glued to the TVs. We had little 12-inch TVs back then. Some of us had the 8-inch TVs. We was glued to them. We was like, because we all in prison. Most of us got life sentences, 20 to 40, 30 to 60. My homeboy got 150 to 300 years. We like this. Man, we waiting. We anxiously waiting. Soon as they said the verdict is coming in, man, we ran the trial. Came back from trial. Everybody got back on their TV like this. We like waiting, shaking our leg, waiting, shaking our hand, waiting. We doing this. And they said, OJ Simpson, on count 1, not guilty. On count 2, not guilty. On count 3, not guilty. And then the news pop in after they get done and saying they're not guilty. The news pop in and say, well, OJ has been cleared of all charges. He's not guilty and he's free to go. Everybody just went in an uproar. We cooked food for days after that. We cooked food for days. We jumped up hollering, as Carol and Rob 15 said. We jumped up hollering. And I just want to say this to my white brothers and sisters that's listening to me. Because I know a lot of y'all, have a difference of opinion. I know that. And I'm not picking on y'all, so don't think I'm picking on y'all. I'm about to just make a point. I want y'all to understand why the so-called people like me, the so-called black people, why we went in a happy uproar, in a celebratory uproar when OJ was found not guilty. Because people like us have been held down and held back, imprisoned, enslaved, and all this for so long, we haven't had a win in our category, right? We haven't had a win. So to see a brother go through this system, we didn't even care if he did it. And win, we took that win with pride because that's all we ever had. The system never gave us anything but prison. That's all the system ever gave us. So as a 51-year-old now, I can look back and say, that wasn't right, right? But I still understand the emotion that existed. But it wasn't right for me to accept that the system would give us a win on, if I actually felt that he did it, the system gave us a win. That wasn't right for me. It didn't sit right in my spirit as I grew up and thought about it, right? But in that moment and in my trauma and in my pain, that was absolutely right. That was absolutely right. That was justice served to the benefit of people that look like me. Because it's thousands of brothers who didn't commit their crimes that wasn't the beneficiary of freedom after court. They ended up in prison. So to my white brothers and sisters who may disagree with what I'm saying, you would have to understand and be in our shoes to understand why Black people celebrated OJ's freedom. Even though some of us even said it around kitchen tables and barbershop talk that OJ got away. He got away with one. Because we have been enslaved for far too long. Somebody say skin don't put you in jail, your actions do. Brother, I don't know who you are that said something so asinine, but you should never even open your mouth again and talk about race matters unless you have done the research. Because the research says it for itself. The system has admitted to this. So please, before you come on here with asinine comments, especially with a person like me, know what you're talking about and do your research. And if you didn't do your research and you don't know what you're talking about, be prepared to have your legs cut off. Be prepared. Because I do not tolerate people coming on here with racist innuendos, discriminatory innuendos, not being impartial, not being fair, not having an understanding that we all have our own opinion and being respectful of one another's opinion. Somebody said F you. Thank you. Thank you. Because that goes right back to you. F and you. And anybody that agrees with you. Judge not by the color of the skin, but by the content, by the actions of the character. The system doesn't do that. We know that. But why are so many people still hating on OJ 30 years later? 30 years later. No one has told me why yet. OJ did it and he wrote a book on how he would do it after he did it. Okay. Dems are just losing the boat, way to show up Atlanta, these people, okay. Black man, 2024. Are you mad or you have no manners? Wow, okay. Any day is a glorious day for a liberal meltdown. You have more rights than white people. I'm gonna let that one go over my head right there. I'm not even gonna respond to that type of nonsense. He did. You can look it up if you're not too adverse to facts. The book was If I Did It. So I never said he did or didn't do it. So just for the record, I see I got to do this just for the record. Can everybody like, comment, and share out my live feed? I want everybody that's chiming in right now, please like, share, comment, and share out my live feed. I'm asking that y'all please do that for me. I want to reiterate something because some people just came on here, so they didn't hear what I said prior to them coming on here, is I'm not defending OJ, not even in the mildest form. I don't know if he did it. I don't know if he didn't do it. I said what the court said. The court acquitted him of the charges. That's all that I'm going by. Whether I personally feel like he did it and got away with one, or he didn't do it, that doesn't even matter with respects to what I'm talking about. I am specifically saying that the court acquitted OJ of all the charges. So who am I to come behind the court that I trust? Now, if I don't trust the court, you got every reason to go behind it, whatever you want to do. But who am I to go behind the court and then say the court didn't do this right or didn't do that? I haven't even studied the law to know what the court should have did and what they didn't do. All I know is that no one has answered the question of why is so many people still hating on OJ. Forever the greatest, deeply missed. I'm just glad that OJ can finally rest easily, knowing that Nicole's unaliver is dead. Okay. All right, y'all. So again, my argument is, why is so many people still hating on OJ 30 years later? The man has passed away. Yes, Mark _ 3150 when I said, why? Where's all this energy with Emmett Till murders? Bingo, where the energy with that? I know everybody heard of 1955 Emmett Till. What happened with that? What happened with Emmett Till case? Nobody talking about the Emmett Till case. Give me 1 minute. Nobody talking about the Emmett Till case. But we want to talk about OJ case, huh? Nobody talking about the Central Park 5 case. But we want to talk about OJ case, huh? Nobody talking about Mike Brown case and all them other brothers that been stretched out, unalived, beaten to death, and everything else by the police. No one putting energy behind that. But you want to talk about a 30-year-old case. When it was just last week that the police unalived a young man like 13, 14 years old because he had a big old toy gun that was clearly a toy gun. Nobody want to talk about that. Tamir Rice, Freddie Gray, Eric Garner. Come on. Nobody want to talk about that. Where's that energy at there? Because this is the part that gets me. It's only a sector of society who is instilled with so much hatred toward OJ. And that sector of society don't look like me. So now the question is, where's the hatred really coming from? Huh? Where's the hatred really coming from? I know some people don't want to hear that. I know some people don't even want to respond to it because you're going to expose yourself. I know that. I don't care if OJ did it or he didn't do it. I'm not the judge of that. He already been through the court system. The court system said he didn't do it. I have confidence in what they said. He didn't do it. That don't mean personally I believe that he didn't do it. That don't mean personally, but J.R. Goodtar said the courts were wrong. Okay, we can have our opinion about the court being wrong, but the court made their decision and no appeals court overturned what they said. Because the prosecutor had the option to file an appeal, and he did. And he lost the appeal. Because the higher court said no, the lower courts the jury at the lower court already said he didn't do it. That's what we're relying upon. We don't have any new evidence saying otherwise. And so we, as a people, got to get over ourselves. You know, we the only people who holding on to a hatred that's 30 years old. And this is what generational hatred is built upon. Holding on to something for 30 years, and as long as you hold on to it, you can't move forward. Because hatred is always going to hold you back. Hatred is like the devil. This is the ingredients of the devil. The devil is always going to pull you back when you're trying to go forward. And as long as you allow the devil to stay latched on to you, you're never going to go forward. You got to shake it off. Only white people hold on to hate. Come on, speak, brother. Tell Nicole's family to move on. I'm not going to tell them like that to move on. Hell no. Because the pain is all. Listen, y'all. I want to say this, and I want to say this, and I want to be very, very clear. The pain of losing someone, especially so tragically, that pain never goes away. Listen, my son was not even unalive tragically 35 years ago, and it still hurt every single day. The pain is never going to go away. We're going to take that pain with us everywhere. That pain has become a part of us. Some of that pain has made us into stronger individuals, more reasonable-minded, sound-minded individuals. But you can't take that hatred with you. Hatred ain't gonna never make you into a sound-minded individual. Hatred ain't gonna never make you into a righteous-minded individual. Hatred ain't gonna never allow you to move forward in a righteous manner. Hatred ain't gonna never allow you to have a clear concept of the direction that you're going. Hatred ain't gonna never be healthy for you to live with. It just ain't gonna be that way. And so that's why I posed the question, why is people still hating on OJ? 30 years later, people still holding on to hatred. They holding on to hatred. Maybe if we held on to understanding like we hold on to hatred, we'll be a people that get along with one another. Because then we would understand that right or wrong, you're still a human being. I must respect you. Maybe if we exercise just a microcosm of love, our respect for one another may flourish. And then we wouldn't have these type of cases that divides us, right? Like the cases of Emmett Till, Eric Garner, Tamir Rice, Freddie Gray, Mike Brown, Chandra Bland. Come on. It's too many to name. I'm not going to even lie. It's so many that I done forgot. I'm just being honest. That's how many it is that I done forgot. It's like the pain just keep on compounding. Just keep on compounding. The trauma keeps on compounding, right? So we have to now ask ourselves today, in the absence of OJ, do we now let the hatred go? Or do we still hold on to the hatred? So even when the conversation comes up as it's doing today with me, you still exercising that hatred. A hatred that's not going to move you any further toward peace of mind. A hatred that's not going to clear the way for you to see positivity in your future. A hatred that's not going to allow your body to find health. A hatred that's not going to allow your mind to enjoy peace. So do we continue to hold on to a hatred for someone who, whether he did it or not, in 1994 was charged with the crime of taking the lives of his ex-wife and her then boyfriend, a male friend? Do we hold on to this? Do we hold on to this? Or do we move forward in life and let it go? Deal with the pain of it, but not hold on to the hate that we felt as a result of it. That's the question that we got to ask ourselves. That's why I came on here and asked a simple question. Why is some people still hating on OJ? And this is the most fascinating part to me about the hating on OJ part, is that many of the people that's hating on OJ today are proclaimed Christians or proclaimed religious members. How could you be that and yet you hold on to the devil's juice? No pun intended. You drink the devil's juice for 30 years. You drink the devil's juice for 30 years. But then you want someone to believe that you are a righteous individual, a religious individual, a spiritual individual. That don't even go together like that. I'm telling you right now, I asked a simple question. Why are so many people still hating on OJ? And you know what? And to be truthful, unless I missed the comment, I still haven't seen no one, even those who are hating on OJ, dislike OJ, think OJ did it. They still haven't said why they're holding on to this hatred, even if they want to describe it dislike toward OJ. No one has told me that yet. And what that implies is that we acknowledge that we holding on to something that we shouldn't be holding on to. You know, it's like those who holding on to their hatred is like holding on to a smoking gun. You are just as guilty. You are just as guilty as the man you are trying to accuse, you're trying to condemn, when you holding on to that smoking gun. Because when the police pull up and you got the smoking gun, who do you think that they're going to say committed the crime? And what do I mean by that? I'm talking about the hatred that we feel for one another, that we show to one another in society. That's what creates monsters. Monsters create monsters. It's like a dog can't have a cat for a baby. An orange don't produce apples. Monsters give birth to monsters. And hatred is a monster that we must deal with. Because hatred creates the monsters that we have to deal with every day. And then we go and talk to one another in corners and behind curtains and behind closed doors. And we talk about the little kid on the street or the guy up the street. And we talk about how he's selling drugs to the people and how I hate him. I hate his guts. I hate everything about him. I wish he would be unalived. And we say all this type of stuff out of our hatred toward so-and-so. But what we're doing is we are creating an atmosphere that monsters are born in. Because monsters give birth to monsters. I don't want to hold y'all up too long, but I do want y'all to realize that monsters give birth to monsters. So when we go to blaming people and saying whether someone did it or not, and we holding on to the reason why we're saying he did it is just because we hate the fact that it happened and it looked like he did it. And other people on the other side saying, I don't think he did it. The court said he didn't do it. It looked like he didn't do it to me. We holding on to a pride a pride that someone escaped the wrath of the system despite mounting evidence of guilt. And on the other side, they're holding on to the hatred that the very system that people like them built allowed someone to escape. And especially when that someone is a black guy. And really, especially when that someone was being charged with killing, unaliving 2 white people. That hurt. That hurt. If I was someone on the other side of the skin tone spectrum, and I possessed that hatred, that deep-seated dislike, that disdain. Now, keep in mind, y'all, I want to clarify. I didn't say just because you're on the other side of the color spectrum. I'm not talking about just anybody. I'm talking about those who possess the hate, who's on the other side of the color spectrum, who possess the hate, the disdain, the dislike, and everything else. And a black guy is released after unaliving 2 white people, I would be pissed off too. I would be pissed off too. Kind of reminds me of the story. And y'all remember that movie by Samuel L. Jackson called A Time to Unalive? And they had 3 Ku Klux Klan members who snatched Samuel L. Jackson's daughter up as she was going along a wooded trail. And they sexually assaulted this young 11, 12-year-old, sexually assaulted her and messed her up. And Samuel L. Jackson found out who did it. These guys were arrested. They were on trial. Matthew McConaughey was his attorney. And Matthew McConaughey they went back and forth. They said those guys are not going to get found guilty in this town of all white people. You can't. It was a little black girl. They're not going to get found guilty of doing nothing to no black person. So the picture that he painted to the jury was of a black girl. Of a black girl who had been sexually assaulted and beaten and battered by 3 racist white men. At the end of his closing argument, he told the jury, now imagine if that little black girl was your little white daughter and those white men were 3 black men. How would you feel? And they found those 3 white men guilty because the picture had to be painted that it can happen this way as well. So what I'm saying in my closing is that be careful of the hate that you direct toward others. Because once there's no one else to hate and you possess hate, you begin to hate yourself. And once you begin to hate yourself, your life is at risk. And everything around you, life is at risk. You become the cancer. So I want to close this because I didn't want to hold y'all up this long. They like to make blacks the face of degenerate behavior even today. Absolutely. That's the system that we live in. And what I'm telling y'all is that we understand the system that we live in. Let us not allow the system to dictate what we think, what we believe, what we heard, what we know. Whether or not OJ committed the crime is an opinion that belongs to only you. Your opinion is not my opinion. Although me and you together may think that he did it or did not do it, your opinion is your opinion. I do not cast an opinion on whether or not I think he did it or whether or not he got away with it. My only issue, concern, conversation piece was that why is everybody still hating on OJ 30 years later? Can't we do something else with that energy? Can't we do something else with that energy? This was a mafia job, not OJ. Okay. No one say he was a good football player. He was a great football player, by the way. Well, he almost cut his ex-wife's head off, so I agree. How? About time. Mafia. Okay. All right, y'all. I'm about to get up out of this thing. I got 2 minutes left. My guy right here, his name is Clock. He told me I got 2 minutes left. So I want to take any questions right now. I got 2 minutes. Somebody say you need to go. I know, that's where I'm about to go. Don't worry about it. I'm about to go. R.I.P. to the GOAT. Listen. Hey, y'all, check this out. Why are so many people hating on OJ? My next question. Why are most of the people that's hating on OJ from the other side of the skin tone spectrum? Now, answer that. Because to me, it seems like there's some race issue there. There's some race issue there. Now, I have a question. What if the white woman unalives the black guy for abuse or whatever the situation is? Would you still feel that, have that type of energy? Would you still be feeling with your chest the way you're feeling? I doubt it. I doubt it. You know what happened then? And I got to be honest. I speak honest stuff. I speak truth. What happened then, if it was the white woman who unalived the black guy for some type of abuse or whatever, you know, the people that look like me, we'll be sitting up here mad, angry. We'll be like, he shouldn't have been with that white B anyway. That's what he did. And then we'll get to talking about the white girl. And we'll get to talking about how the court gonna release her. Court ain't gonna find her guilty either. Watch, they ain't gonna find her guilty. Now we want to protest. We got to be real with this, right? We're gonna protest. We're gonna talk about it. We're gonna try to get on the news and talk bad about the judge, the juries, all this. That's why we have to be willing to accept what's going on from the other angle. But we can't allow it to dictate what we think, because just because you are strong in your opinion on this issue doesn't make you a bad person. It doesn't make you a bad person. Just because we don't agree on this issue doesn't make you right or me wrong, or vice versa. Just because you are angry after all of these years, it doesn't make you a bad person. It just holds you back from your potential to do good if you say you are a good person. And with that, I'm going to say peace and love. Peace and love to those within the sound of my voice. And for those who cannot hear the sound of my voice, I'm asking that everybody on this feed pass along the message that I'm giving you. Maybe someone wasn't on here to hear it. Maybe someone needed to hear it, but they couldn't get on here for whatever technological or other reasons. But I'm asking you who did hear me, I'm asking you to pass along the message, because someone needs to be inspired. Everybody have a blessed rest of your day.